Hi everyone, I'm Shelly and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. I'm back with another video and today's topic is Andrew of Caesarea on Revelation 6:12-13. For the past several weeks now, I have been sharing quotes from notable figures throughout church history that shows that many of them were at the very least partial preterists. If you're not sure what that is, preterism means past fulfillment. So what that means then in regards to these people that I'm sharing quotes from is that while many Christians have this idea that all of the early church, what they like to call the early church fathers or the early church theologians, came from a premillennial perspective, that is not actually the case. There were many of them who were not premillennials and who did at the very least believe that at least some, or in some cases most, of the book of Revelation and other prophecies had already been fulfilled within the first century. And so today I'm going to be sharing with you a quote from Andrew of Caesarea, and he was a Greek theological writer and bishop of Caesarea in Cappadocia. And let's see, it says here that his life spanned the late 6th to early 7th centuries, in case you weren't familiar with who he is. But let's read, first of all, the passage that his quote is regarding. Revelation 6, verses 12-13. When he opened the sixth seal, I looked, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth, the full moon became like blood, and the stars of the sky fell to the earth, as the fig tree sheds its winter fruit when shaken by a gale. And here are his words regarding that passage. There are not wanting those that think that all these things, and refer each one of these things which are said, to the siege and destruction of Jerusalem, which happened by Titus Vespasian. So, yes, St. Andrew was saying that Revelation 6, verses 12-13, at the very least, were regarding this siege of Jerusalem in the first century, which culminated in the destruction of the temple in AD 70. Now, some of you might be thinking to yourself, how could that possibly have happened in the first century? Because it says here that there was a great earthquake, and it says that the sun became black as sackcloth, and the full moon became like blood, and the stars of the sky fell to the earth. Well, besides the fact that that very sort of language is used throughout the Old Testament in judgments of other nations, this is something called apocalyptic language. And I've made many videos about that, so I'm not going to get into that one today. I'll link some videos at the end of this video that explain some of that in case you're interested. But besides the fact that this can certainly be regarded as apocalyptic language, I just want to point out that this was happening during the siege of Jerusalem. Rome had a very formidable army, and let's not forget that Jerusalem was destroyed by fire. Jerusalem was being pummeled by artillery from Rome. Many of these projectiles that were sent into Jerusalem would have been in flames. They would have been set on fire as they were being just launched over into Jerusalem. So with all of these fires happening everywhere and all of these projectiles coming from the sky, it would certainly seem like it would be feasible, besides this being apocalyptic language that generally signifies the removal of rulers or of a system, okay? Here we have the sun became black as sackcloth, the full moon became like blood. If the sky was filled with smoke from all of these fires that were going on everywhere, it certainly would seem like the sky would be so dark that the sun would become black, or that the full moon at nighttime would look like it was tinged red. It says there was a great earthquake. Imagine these projectiles just coming down over and over and over again into the city. The stars of the sky fell to the earth. Now again, stars of the sky, it very often refers to rulers. Some people believe this means both spiritual rulers and the earthly rulers. But I'm also going to suggest, I could be wrong, that the stars of the sky fell to the earth could also be referring to these very projectiles that were being launched by Rome. And in fact, I just want to show you that the Romans, they used something called the Scorpio or scorpion. It was a type of Roman artillery known for its precision and effectiveness in battle, capable of firing bolts at enemies from a distance of up to 400 meters. It was primarily used during sieges and could be operated by a single person, making it a valuable asset for Roman legions. Now, on top of that information, I am going to share with you a quote from Josephus's writings about this siege of Jerusalem. And this can be found in the book Wars of the Jews by Josephus. Josephus was a Jewish historian who was an eyewitness to the events that happened in Jerusalem. And here is what he had to say. And I just want you to imagine what we just read in Revelation 6 with these dark skies and these huge projectiles falling to the ground. Here's what he had to say. These engines that all the legions had ready prepared for them were admirably contrived, but still more extraordinary ones belonged to the 10th Legion. Those that threw darts and those that threw stones were more forcible and larger than the rest, by which they not only repelled the excursions of the Jews, but drove those away that were upon the walls also. Now the stones that were cast were of the weight of a talent, and were carried 2 furlongs and farther. The blow they gave was no way to be sustained, not only by those that stood first in the way, but by those that were beyond them for a great space. As for the Jews, they at first watched the coming of the stone, for it was of a white color, and could therefore not only be perceived by the great noise it made, but could be seen also before it came by its brightness. Now, additionally, in regards to this, if you could imagine standing there in Jerusalem, seeing these huge white projectiles, some of them being mixed with fire coming down around you, it could certainly give the appearance of stars falling to the earth. And knowing that these Jews, they had all been raised on the Tanakh. They had all heard all of this apocalyptic language about the stars falling to the earth. So if they saw something like that, it may well have been that they associated that what they saw and thought back to themselves about the prior judgments of the Old Testament. And, that is just my hypothesis regarding this. But nevertheless, Andrew of Caesarea is yet one more prominent figure in church history who does believe that at least portions of Revelation were finished in the destruction of Jerusalem. That's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one down below. And if you like my work and would like to become a channel member, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well, or you can just click on it right on my channel page. And I hope you have a great day.